Okay, folks, this is our very first video on the Mega Orb, and I'm super excited to share this with you. And what I want to do is I wanted to compare, what would happen if we try to create a bot that creates enough trades or enough specific, we'll call it action trades, whatever, to get an account funded inside of maybe a 30-day or even a month period. And so in this case, we were actually taking significantly more trades. And my favorite, you guys probably may know this, but my favorite is to find something that can trade multiple days. In this case, if I add Tuesday to our mix, it does bring it down just a little bit, not a ton, just a little bit. Oops, let me run that one more time. It does kind of pull down on it just a little bit, but regardless, um, it does kind of reduce the overall performance. And if we were to look at the analysis here based on the cumulative, that's what it looks like. And if we were to look at the days of the week, that's kind of why I turn off Tuesday. But regardless, if you were to look at the overall summary here, you'll notice that our profit factor is a little bit lower than normal. Our percentage profit is a little bit lower than normal, but that's because our sheer volume of trades goes up by many, many multiples. And ultimately, most of you guys know what the requirements are for Apex Trader funding. And if we wanted to look at let's see, the Trade of 8 plan for 300K, that's what I'm using here to kind of run some back tests, is we're allowed 20,000 is our goal. So plus 20,000 and oops, it's moving 20,000 and then 7,500 of drawdown with 350 micro contracts. And so what you can see here is I'm using 750 risk, which is 10% of our drawdown. And we're allowed to have 7,500 of drawdown. You'll see here that we have about 3,500. So very, very reasonable. And then we need this to be plus 20K, which is, you know, not way above, but it is significantly above that. And so what this does is this gives us the ability to run a single bot that can run multiple days, and cherry picking the days is sometimes a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. Obviously, certain events sometimes happen on Wednesdays, sometimes on Fridays. So you can cherry pick, but sometimes, it's good and bad. It's a double-edged sword. So all the things you guys are used to seeing are here available on the Mega Orb. The big difference here is a few things. Here is the ATR period and ATR multiplier, and those are essentially a trailing stop. We're going to introduce a new way to do a trailing stop, and we'll talk more about this when we look at the chart here in just a minute. So those are new settings. Pretty much everything else you're probably used to seeing with our other traditional bots. We're using M and Q. M stands for micro, so we have 350 contracts. We can specify maximum trades per day, 3 or 4 or 5, whatever that looks like. We can specify, and then our entry padding, stop loss, profit taker, and then all the traditional settings you're used to seeing as well. So what I want to do is I want to kind of look through some of these trades on the chart, and we're going to look at kind of how this works, how this plays out. And let's see if we can find a example that has like two side by side. Here we go. Here's a perfect example. And this is what the Mega Orb is kind of intended to do, where right here you'll see is our signal candle. And what it essentially does is we're creating like a zone, right? We're creating a zone saying, okay, we're always going to be bullish above this area. We're going to be bearish below. And so it's going to kind of create the zone, the very first trade. So the very first trade is our traditional normal orb, but it's going to kind of save that zone, and it's going to take multiple trades throughout the day. So what that means is if price action, in this case, goes higher, boom, it's a win, right? Take profit. And then price action comes back in and pops back above, it's going to get in and take another trade, right? Now, this also can take bearish trades as well. Often it can do that, but it's going to, again, it's going to depend on how many trades per day you're taking. So again, we're still beta testing this. We have a kind of a working version of this. And the trailing stop basically works like this. There's two variables. There's the ATR period. So in this case, we're looking at a 6-minute chart. So we're going back 10 candles. and that becomes our ATR period. And then we're saying times three. So if the average range is, let's say, $3, and we're saying times three, that would be three times three is $9. So all of our trailing stops going to keep kind of like a $9 trailing stop, $9 away as price action goes higher. And how that works once you get into a trade, and this isn't a really good example because it hits the target in a single trade, sorry, in a single candle. This one almost gets stopped out and then goes on to win. But ultimately, the way that this works is once you're up in profits, then the trailing stop's going to start kicking in. It's going to stay that $9 away from. In this example, it's going to stay X number of dollars, whatever your ATR period. And ATR stands for average true range. Average true range, and range is defined by your high minus your low, right? So if a candle moves from a high of, let's say it has a $5 move from the high to the low, or let's say a $20 move or a $3 move, that's kind of what the range is. So the range, that's what the range stands for. The ATR is the average true range. The period is how far back are we looking to kind of calculate our average. And then we're going to have a multiplier times two, times three, and we're going to keep the trailing stop kind of in place as price action goes higher. But in this case, both of these examples aren't the best example because they kind of hit their profit target rather quickly. But those are the basics of the Mega Orb. And we are super excited about this one because I know a lot of people said, oh my gosh, I got to have, I got to find multiple trades for multiple days. And it takes a lot of work. Can we just have one that does a lot of things? And this is actually something I've been keeping an eye on and studying myself manually. And I'm like, let's just automate this and let's put this in a strategy analyze and let's take a look how well this actually works, how well this performs. And so this, don't fall in love with the results too much with the 1.1. We're making a few changes. There's a few little calculation things we're still working on solving. So we will release a 1.2 or 1.3 here shortly, but just wanted to throw that out there so you guys have some basic kind of starting ideas for how the Mega Orb works. Thanks.